Those 2 weeks were excruciating. I didn't sleep. I just researched. I was obsessed. Today's melanoma diagnosis story is part of my skin cancer diagnosis series that I do on this channel, where I retell your stories, my viewers' stories, in order to inspire and encourage you that you are not alone in your skin cancer diagnosis journey. I am not a medical professional. I am just a melanoma cancer survivor myself. And these stories are difficult for me to read and share with you all, but are also inspiring for me as well. Join me in my mission to prevent skin cancer by subscribing to this channel and sharing this video with a friend. If you would like for me to retell your story here on my channel, I'll place my email right here on the screen for you to email me. Thank you, Charmaine, for your bravery to share your story with us all. This is Charmaine's story. Hi, below is my story. It is still unfolding, but it's a doozy so far. I had noticed a small, thin black line growing out from my cuticle around July 25th of 2022. I Googled it and saw that it could be a sign of a rare type of melanoma, but mine didn't look anything like the images I saw on Google. And I also thought there is no way I have melanoma. Google also said it could be some other things, and I thought it was more likely to be something else. I was having some other symptoms like joint pain and attributed it to that, and had plans on addressing these issues once we returned from vacation. The beginning of August, my family and I went to the beach in New Jersey, where I ended up having a horrific rash all over my chest and back. It was incredibly itchy, and nothing helped it. I went to a walk-in clinic to see if I could get a prescription to help, and she wanted me to have it biopsied because of the other symptoms I was having, like joint pain. She got me into a dermatologist that day. While I was there for the rash, I casually lifted up my thumb and said, "Oh, I also have this." The nurse practitioner with the doctor audibly gasped. He told me he couldn't do a nail biopsy that day as he didn't have time. He rescheduled me for a 2-week follow-up to check the rash and would do the biopsy then. He did not look at it with his dermoscope, just scheduled the biopsy. Totally cool with me. I didn't research anything. My mind couldn't go to melanoma. I wish it did though. I started taking frequent pictures after I saw the dermatologist that day, which ended up being incredibly helpful. I had a nail biopsy done on August 26th of 2022. I was incredibly nervous and even tried to talk him out of doing the biopsy. The line on my nail had been there about a month, and in that month had drastically changed and grown in size. They instructed me to hold on to and squeeze the armrest. He stuck several needles directly into my nail. This was excruciating. The most intense pain and pressure. After he was finished, he immediately went to start the biopsy and I freaked out. "Wait, don't we need to wait till it's numb?" He said, "It's numb," and continued on. I could feel a lot. Not all, as it was kind of numb, but when they started cauterizing, it felt like I was being electrocuted. I jumped and screamed, "What is that?" As I finally noticed the burning flesh smell. My entire body was shaking uncontrollably. I was sweating and the hottest I have ever been. The doctor and his assistant asked if I was touching the bed because it could electrocute me. WTF, you told me to squeeze the armrest. I moved my arms and they continued. I could still feel it. He said I needed more numbing. No idea if I received any or not because I could still feel it. When it was over, I asked a few questions, but can only remember a few questions I asked and a few of his responses as I was shaken up from the procedure. I asked, "If it comes back bad, what's next?" He said, "We will refer you to a hand surgeon." I felt like he answered my questions, but only provided enough information to satisfy me. I didn't feel like he gave me any additional information. Biopsy results could take up to 2 weeks. I then had to wait 2 weeks for results. So I started researching. And I don't mean a WebMD search. I mean submerging myself into Google Scholar articles published recently regarding nail lesions, subungual melanomas, benign causes, published studies, and watched every YouTube video that a certain doctor had uploaded regarding nail lesions. And what I learned was that mine showed characteristics of melanoma, and I was pretty certain my biopsy was not done correctly based off of what I was reading. Those 2 weeks were excruciating. I didn't sleep. I just researched. I was obsessed. I also started taking photographs to document the process and changes. Just for fun, but I'm so glad I did it. After 7 business days, I began to get impatient, and the lab website had a "Have a question? Text us" link. I didn't expect an answer, but a person responded to me asking for an update. Nails take a little longer than normal due to additional fungal testing. With Labor Day on Monday, it should be reported back to the doctor's office on Tuesday. Well, Tuesday came and went. I texted for another update. Okay, I got some info. The case has been read by Dr. So-and-so, and it's in transcription. Here are the next steps. Once transcription is done, then the report is reviewed by Dr. So-and-so, and if he approves, then it's electronically released to the doctor's office. It should be completed tomorrow. I made a note to myself to follow up on your case tomorrow, mid-morning. Well, the next day I received this text without me asking for an update. The text read, Dr. So-and-so has ordered an additional stain to assist in rendering the diagnosis. You can read more about stains at suchandsuch.com website. Once completed, we will transmit the result to the doctor's office. What are you doing? Did you bring me your mouse? I knew based on my research that Dr. So-and-so is not a fan of additional special stains. I also knew he was a fan of clinical photographs and knew that the first doctor did not take any. I responded and said, maybe these will help. I provided 3 images. One image I caught of the line accidentally right around the time I noticed it in July. The second image I took on August 12th after I first saw the dermatologist, and the third image I took the previous night. Well, the next day I received an email that they published my results early in the morning on Friday, September 9th, and I immediately went and looked. It said, this final diagnosis. I had no idea what this meant. The most concerning part of this result to me was this sentence right here. Mine was evolving. It had changed significantly in just the 2 weeks since the biopsy, not to mention how much change had occurred since I noticed the line back in July, along with some other characteristics that are typically correlated with a melanoma. A lady called me from the dermatology office around 1 or 2 in the afternoon and told me everything is normal. She sounded like she had no medical knowledge whatsoever and was annoyed she had to call and provide results. However, I had questions and started asking questions about the evolving characteristics. Should we monitor this thing? How much change is concerning? Do lentingos ever change? What about the stains he used being positive? I was brushed off again and told that it was a normal solar lentingo. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I am so sorry. An age spot. She even said the stains were done prior to them rendering a final diagnosis. She didn't know I had communicated with the lab and knew that he had ordered additional stains. I asked if a doctor could call me back and answer my questions. She responded, they are in clinic. Can they call me back when they are out of clinic? I was again brushed off and told it was normal. I was fuming. I hung up and called the office back and requested a doctor call me back because my questions were not being answered. They are in clinic, and the lady I spoke to was the only one available. I was never offered even an appointment. Did anyone look into the differential diagnosis? I went and picked up my medical records on September 9th so I could start searching for a new dermatologist that could answer these questions. If it's normal, that's great. That's what I hope for, but I have questions that I need answered. I also asked for a referral because I knew that this other teaching hospital in Dallas was familiar with these nail lesions. No idea if this is normal as I have never picked up my records before, but a couple of things stood out to me. 1, results clearly said that they have not been reviewed yet. Was grumpy lady who wasn't a doctor reading results and making decisions prior to the doctor even looking at the notes? 2, records show that they did the numbing and waited 15 minutes. No, they did not wait 15 minutes. I was thankfully able to get another dermatologist quickly. They looked at the daily photos I had taken since the biopsy, and she recognized that this thing was changing quickly, and it was also a pointed triangular shape, which is one of those characteristics that cause them to be suspicious of melanoma. She looked at it with her dermoscope, and she decided to take pictures herself and reach out to the dermapathologist with her clinical finding and pictures and see what he thought. While he was in France for vacation, the dermapathologist looked at the slides from the biopsy along with the photographs and recognized it as melanoma. However, come to find out, the original doctor who did the initial biopsy did it in the wrong place and didn't go deep enough for him to stage it. The morning of September 20th, the original dermatologist called my phone. I wasn't going to answer it, but decided, what if it's one of the doctors calling to answer my questions finally? Nope. It was the same old grumpy lady who told me it was a normal solar lentigo calling to tell me something about photographs and that it was still normal, even though the lab had sent them updates saying, no girl, it's melanoma. But I didn't know this at the time. I hung up on her. She called back and left a voicemail. I did not call her back. I had no idea what photograph she was talking about, and honestly, I didn't really care. I was contacted in the afternoon on Tuesday, September 20th, that I needed an additional biopsy and that it was, in fact, melanoma. I immediately panicked at the thought because the first biopsy was traumatizing and excruciating. I asked if she could sedate me, and she started asking me questions about why I felt I needed that done. Come to find out, a nail biopsy should be done with a nerve block. The original doctor did not numb me properly, which is why I could feel so much. I immediately was so angry with him in his office. The new dermatologist promised me she would keep me comfortable. I needed to come in the next day for the deeper biopsy, so I did. She numbed me properly, and it wasn't all that bad. Until the nerve block wore off, and then 4 days after this biopsy, I ended up in the ER with an infection at the biopsy site. September 27th. I received a text from the teaching hospital in Dallas that the original dermatologist had sent a referral and that they would be in contact with me. And I immediately was like, WTF. So I went into my portal for the original dermatologist's office and saw that all the new dermatologist work that she had been doing with the pathologist was also updating the original dermatologist's office, even though just a few days prior she called to tell me again it was normal. I would like to think that the doctor at the lab was being snarky by showing the original dermatologist the real way to diagnose these lesions and making him aware that he missed a melanoma. The results were published to the portal on September 26th. Here's what the report said. I learned then that it was melanoma in situ, which is good news for a melanoma diagnosis. I will be having Mohs surgery on November 8th and a skin graft repair and reconstruction done on November 9th. Charmaine, I can say with all of the love that we are praying for your surgery in November, that they get all of that melanoma cancer out of your body and that you have as best of a healing process that you can have. Thank you so much for your bravery and sharing your story. Know that if you have recently received a diagnosis, you are not alone in this journey. There are many of us who have been through what you have been through. Feel free to reach out to any of us in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video.